Hello, everyone. Hope you all are doing great. Welcome to our today's session of Meet the Global Leader. This session is actually for students who are currently studying at universities, mainly in Bangladesh. We invite international professionals, entrepreneurs to share their professional journey, professional insights to the students of Bangladesh so that they can understand how they have been developing skills, implementing skills, and some lessons that definitely help students before their graduation so that they can design their career roadmap and they can develop skills and understand what skills are necessary in what specific roles and how to, like prepare themselves for their professional career and journey. So today we have invited Miss Rachel, and she's a renowned life and career strategist, confidence coach, and imposter syndrome expert. She has over 25 years of experience in the corporate world with a particular focus on advertising and positive psychology. She has been on a mission for the past 3 years to help individuals connect with their potential and develop the confidence and leadership skills they need to achieve their career goals. So, we are going to learn a lot from her vast career and lessons and advice she's going to share with us tonight. So, Miss Rachel, welcome to our session. How are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Great. As you know, like our students who are our main audience,
Mm.
um, they want to learn about how people are doing things differently in different markets. So, if you
Mm.
share a little bit about how was your student life, and if you take us through the lesson you learned during your student life.
The lesson I learned, I don't believe that that was one of the questions we were actually going to talk about. So that's kind of thrown me off a bit. What could you repeat the question?
Yeah, like how was your student life? If you share a brief about your student life, how was it and skills that you developed?
My student life was a very long time ago, so I can't really remember my student life. I mean, I just kind of enjoyed it, I guess.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, I went to university in England, in the UK. I'm originally from England. I went to a teacher training college, and but I decided not to pursue teacher training, so I did early childhood um, education. Sorry, and then I decided not to pursue that, so I did a core degree in English.
Great. Your career, like transitioned from
Mm.
advertising to life and career coaching. So,
Mm.
what actually motivated this significant change in your career?
Well, as you mentioned in my introduction, there I have been in the industry, the advertising industry, for 25 years, and I really enjoyed my time in that industry. But I got to the point where I wanted to do something different, and I think this is quite a common theme for a lot of people. They get to a point in their career where it's like, I'm ready to do something else. And I had been interested in positive psychology, human behavior, emotional intelligence, leadership, in a few years, kind of as I was coming towards the end of my career. And so I decided to undertake some study and research these areas, and I'd been doing that for a number of years. And then in my last full-time advertising job, which was I left that in December of 2019. I decided that I was going to take a break after that job, um, because I'd been suffering from a little bit of burnout, being in a very high-pressure environment at that time. And it was here that I kind of looked to kind of carve out, what does my next look like based on my interest in positive psychology. And I obtained a coaching diploma just as the pandemic hit, actually. So I did all of that, and then the pandemic hit. So that was an interesting timing. But I've got to say, advertising gave me really a lot of amazing experience and knowledge into human behavior. The ad agency environment itself is kind of a real melding pot of people. So you get to learn a lot about, how people think, how they operate, how they behave. And I'm a really keen observer of people and became very intensely fascinated by their feelings, thoughts, and actions. Now, I personally have always been quite a bit of a go-getter and an action taker. In my role in advertising, I was kind of the person who got the work done. So, but I did notice, I did really pick up on that, a lot of people would hold themselves back and maybe question themselves as well. And so I really wanted to learn a bit more about that. And that's where I could see, also once I started researching into imposter syndrome, into confidence and coaching, that kind of thing, I actually started to see a lot of myself in that, and wondered oh, how much of this have I been doing, and how much is this affecting other people and these thought processes? So it was there that I thought, well, if I learn about this, and having been someone who's really been impacted by it myself, how can I help make a positive impact on other people's lives through this work and this modality of coaching? And so that's where I decided to transition from the corporate world into becoming an entrepreneur.
Great. So, it is possible that if anyone wants to be an entrepreneur,
Mm,
if they pursue their career in professional sector, they can in future start their venture as well. So it's also
yes,
possible. Yeah, great,
it's
great.
possible if you want to do it. Yeah.
What drew you to specialize in imposter syndrome? Did you experience it yourself in your advertising career?
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. That's kind of the whole reason that I decided that was something I really needed to look at. Although I didn't really know that until I first heard about it, which I'd heard about it maybe 3 years before I decided to leave the industry. Somebody came into the organization I was working in, and they spoke about it, and I thought, gosh, that really sounds like me. And I noticed that a lot of other people who were also at that presentation were resonating with that feeling, but it kind of just stayed in my mind for quite a while. And then the more I learnt about it, the more I've obviously recognized myself in those thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. So I wanted to really understand it at a deeper level, not just this surface stuff that you can find a lot of information on the internet about imposter syndrome. Some of it is incorrect, some of it is correct, but you've really got to understand where to get this information from the sources that really do have that knowledge. So, and I think as well in business, when people are starting businesses, you do hear a lot of people talking about it, because lack of confidence is something that is very common amongst people, and it turns out that imposter syndrome is too. With I think the statistic is 70% of people do experience it at one point or another. I think actually it's probably a bit higher. It's probably closer to 83%. But anyway, I really wanted to understand it at a deeper level, get a full kind of understanding, and kind of really know what imposter syndrome was about. So, I mean, I started like most people, reading books, researching online, and then I discovered Dr. Valerie Young of the Imposter Syndrome Institute. And I really wanted to learn more from her. And it turns out that she was actually doing a program where she was taking on delegates to train them in her proprietary system, the Rethinking Imposter Syndrome Solution. And I really wanted to be in that program, really, really wanted to be in that program. So I pretty much fangirled her and stalked her until she kind of responded, and I got myself an interview for that program. She was only taking a select few people, so I felt very privileged, and to be included. And she accepted me onto the program. Now, the really interesting thing about this is that when I did get onto that program, I actually experienced a whole new level of imposter syndrome myself, simply by being on that program, because there were, the other trainees, the other delegates were people who had a lot of speaking experience, a lot of previous coaching experience. And so I really had this moment of, oh my gosh, I don't really deserve to be here. So it is super interesting about imposter syndrome, because what they say is, different level, different devil. And so it kind of can be triggered by various scenarios. And that was definitely one for me. But I think, being in that space with those people and Dr. Valerie Young herself, who has been researching imposter syndrome for 40 years. So she is the world leading expert in the subject. Was a really safe space for me to be, to be able to kind of share that I was experiencing imposter syndrome at that level. And, be able to feel very welcome and accepted by those teams and people. But so having learnt about it and understanding how it plays out and the different sources and all that kind of thing, I can really look back at my advertising career and just notice, really understand and gain a lot of awareness about how much impact it really did make. One of the main things for me personally was that I really held myself back because of my inability, my limiting beliefs, to believe in myself and my talents. I didn't have enough confidence to put myself forward. I didn't believe I was very smart. I thought I was quite average, and I didn't want to expose myself for my lack of ability and knowledge. So as a result, I missed out on a lot of opportunities, and I really sabotaged my success. I was constantly worried about being found out, and this had a real detrimental effect on my career because it's because of that lack of progress, not just from a promotions perspective, but also it affects your ability to earn financially too. So you do get very held back, and of course it had an effect on my self-esteem and confidence too.
Great. Talking about confidence, like when we are in professional sector, we
Mm.
work for other company.
Hmm.
Uh, we have a fixed salary. Life is fixed. We are in comfort zone.
Hmm.
So how was it about you? Like you are, like you started your own venture.
Hmm.
If you share the challenges that you faced when you started, that would be, like great for our
Hmm.
audience to learn.
Yeah. As you say, you do go from working 9 to 5 to starting your own business. You are faced with a lot of challenges. As from the employee mindset to business to entrepreneur mindset, it's a very big leap. But it's not for the faint-hearted. It's definitely not for everybody. I literally had no idea what I was doing when I first started, and I think sometimes that can be a good and a bad thing, because good in the sense that I didn't let my lack of knowledge hold me back in this instance, because I was really driven and motivated about moving away from the advertising agency kind of life that I'd had into something completely new. So that motivation really does help in that. And so to assist me with that, I actually sought out help and mentoring and my own coaching to assist me finding myself on my feet, from business coaches to life coaches to working with Dr. Valerie. So I had a bit of I set up my own team, as it were. But as time goes on, enthusiasm, determination, resilience, and grit, they're all great. You need all of those things to be a business owner and entrepreneur, but they weren't enough. And, they help you stay the course, but there's always new challenges so I had to learn a lot of things. I had to learn how to do marketing, sales, branding, messaging, how to build a website, how to do social media, how to do speaking as well, like something that I'd never done. And so there is a lot to it. And as well as understanding basics about business, like your numbers. What does it take for you to be successful? What are your goals? And really kind of getting into all of those areas. So it's all kind of great to want to start a business, but there are a lot of moving parts to it. So I was very challenged by having to learn all of those new things. And I had a lot of dips in confidence along the way whilst I was learning this new stuff. The entrepreneurial journey has many obstacles that are going to make you question yourself, right? And that I think if you kind of even looked at how business coaches kind of get their clients, they know that you have these moments where you just want to throw the towel in and give up. It can get really, really hard and really challenging. So it is all about how you navigate yourself through these moments that matters. And the coaching process, learning about managing imposter syndrome, having the right coaches in place and mentors in place, was a real game changer in that. And I think if you don't have that support, wherever you are at in your career, a mentor, coaching advocates for you are very, very important in that journey. And so former me might have given up if I'd been buying into this belief that I wasn't cut out for it. I'm not smart enough. I'm definitely an imposter. So having that team around me to help me through those moments is super important, as well as the, the grit, resilience, and the determination.
Definitely. And you already have mentioned that you had trust on you, your skill sets, you were confident. That
Mm,
actually also helped you to start your venture. So,
mm,
uh, so leaders
mm-hmm,
actually, they are, they're they're showing the path, they lead a team. So
mm-hmm.
if, in case of, how can imposter syndrome manifest in leaders and how can it impact their teams?
Well, I mean, imposter syndrome affects a large number of people, right? 70%, as I mentioned before, probably close to 83%. 80% of CEOs and 81% of managing directors say they experience imposter syndrome. A KPMG 2020 study showed that 75% of female leaders experience imposter syndrome. So it is wide reaching. So, but also it doesn't affect everybody, and it doesn't affect you 24/7 either. It's not something that you're always going to feel. It's one of those, you have dips in confidence. So sometimes we feel confident and sometimes we don't, but that doesn't mean that we're an imposter. And I think that's the thing that we need to learn. That's the education piece about imposter syndrome. It can also be a very individual experience, because it's important to understand the root causes of why we feel, think, and believe that those, buying into that I'm not good enough to be here, I'm a fraud, that kind of story. Buying into that causes those behaviors that I kind of touched on before, which is holding yourself back, not putting yourself forward, not sharing ideas, that kind of thing. And we do know that many of our beliefs come from our childhood experiences. So if you experience messages as a child that you weren't good enough, or your best wasn't good enough, or you need to be perfect, then your belief is going to be that you're not good enough. And so it's really about, is that the story that you're telling yourself, and kind of how we work through that. And this can, in turn, this can manifest across your leadership style into poor delegation skills. If you are a bit of a perfectionist, you may not be comfortable delegating work to people, because you've got these standards that you set for yourself that make you feel like, oh, it's easier for me to do it myself. I can't explain it. No one's going to deliver the way I want it. And so then you become someone who is overburdened with work, you burn out, and you may even avoid, kind of actually, procrastinate on these tasks, because you've got a unrealistic expectation about what it means to be perfect. So there's lots of ways it can manifest, and you're never satisfied with your performance. You always think you can do better. So that's why it can be a bit of a challenge for leaders to kind of let it go, and for teams as well. If you've got people who struggle to ask for help, for example, or don't share their idea. You've got talented people, you've taken on talented people in your team, they're not sharing their ideas, and that, everybody misses out when that happens. So it can have a lot of, impact. And of course, if you are a perfectionist, your version of good is everybody else's version of amazing, but you don't know that because you never share your
Yeah,
work. So, and
definitely.
you never buy into it. The other thing that can happen is, of course, if you're not delegating work, or you do and you struggle to let go of it, this can lead to micromanaging your team because of your high expectations that no one else is able to meet. And that can stifle their creativity and productivity. So that can lead to dissatisfaction within the team. And also, it may lead to other team members feeling like, in order for them to reach your standard, that they must then engage in the same kind of behaviors that you engage in. And so therefore they might burn out themselves, right? So uh,
Definitely. Yeah.
yeah, there's a fair amount of impact that it can have. um, and if you are someone who then feels like you have to overwork and over prepare because you're always tweaking and twiddling and perfecting and taking time over stuff, this can actually really come across as you're attempting to cover up for your supposed ineptness by continually trying to reach a success standard that you can never really meet. So this means you'll spend more time at work. You probably don't have time for self-care and affect your relationship with your friends, your family, your partner. So yeah, there's a lot of ways it can impact managers and teams. And as I mentioned before, like it can lead to holding back from sharing your ideas and putting yourself forward for opportunities. So you might not take risks about taking on projects or applying for promotions or different jobs. And then you're going to also not just suffer from a lack of progress in your career, but you're probably going to, suffer financially too in the long run. So, yeah.
Yeah, informative. So, like many women struggle with confidence in the
Mhm.
work.
Mm,
Especially the rate ratio is higher in terms of developing countries like in Bangladesh.
right.
So, what specific advice would you give to female university students who aspire to leadership roles?
Yeah, okay. Well, first of all, I just want to reiterate here that imposter syndrome is not an entirely gendered issue, as kind of first thought. It affects just as many men and male students as it does females and female students. And in fact, a Malaysian study of medical students discovered that slightly more male medical students reported experiencing imposter syndrome than the female medical students. Now, the best advice I can give here is that confidence really does come from taking action. So, whatever it is that you're not confident in, that's the thing you need to do. And you need to keep doing it again and again and again until you are confident in it. And, I think for anyone who is perhaps going to university for the first time from their family unit, so maybe no one else in the family unit has gone to university or they haven't got a white collar job, this can affect your confidence because you have this sense of not belonging, right? Oh, no one else in my family has done this. How do I get to do it? And so it's really about understanding that you deserve to be there, right? You've worked hard, you deserve a place at the table, and so just embrace the fact that you are there, and start actually becoming that person, acting as if you should be there because you should. The other thing is that you know no one is confident 100% of the time, right? Failures, mistakes, setbacks are part of everybody's success journey. No, not one person on the planet is 100% confident all of the time. It's just not how confidence works. And a lot of people, especially women, confuse competence with confidence, right? They're not the same thing. You don't need to be 100% competent in something to feel confident. Okay. In fact, success is more highly correlated with confidence than it is with competence. So confidence comes from learning and growing, and it's a skill we got to develop over time, like building muscles in the gym, right? We don't go to the gym once and expect to have the most toned body in the world. We keep going. And the same principle applies to confidence. You just got to keep working at everything. TEDx speakers don't just get on the stage and start speaking. They've gone through a very long process of learning how to be a good public speaker, developing that content. So we have to understand that everything that we want to do, everyone feels dumb and not confident when they start something new. Everyone, when no one gets away with this, right? So the key to finding courage and bravery is to overcome that discomfort and take action and keep taking action, right? Shifting your negative thoughts, those beliefs that kind of touched on before, and finding more positive, empowering ones. So reframing and reflecting on how far you've come, taking action, visualizing your success, and focusing on excellence over perfection.
Great. So I'm having difficulty. I mean, fixing it up my camera.
Okay.
So, can you share a little bit about your organization? Do you offer coaching programs specifically designed for teams to address imposter syndrome and build collective confidence?
Yes, I do. I mean, so I work individually with people one to one, and I also have a couple of workshops and keynotes. So my signature program, Power Up Your Potential, has been built specifically to assist people to overcome imposter syndrome, build confidence, connect with their potential, and achieve their life and career goals. And that is a 1-to-1 12-week program. So we'll work together to kind of really identify and clarify your goals, what it is that you want, what it is, what's been holding you back. So we'll get real awareness of what is that story, that origin story. What are the barriers? What are the mindset tricks that we need to change and shift so that you can start taking action and achieve what you want to achieve in like much quicker speed at a rate that you could do it on your own, because we often need help and there's no shame in that. I also deliver corporate workshops and keynotes on rethinking imposter syndrome. So that was the proprietary training that I did with Dr. Valerie Young from the Imposter Syndrome Institute. And I also have a workshop on how to build confidence, which uses my own proprietary information, which is my Brave Mind framework.
Great. And what are some of the key steps you took to establish your coaching practice, um, Rachel Lounds coaching?
Well, I took some bold steps despite not knowing what I was doing or feeling 100% confident in it, because I trusted myself to figure it out and get the help I needed. And as I think one of the things I touched on before was that you really need a why. Simon Sinek talks about what is your why, and it's really important to understand why you're doing something. Why do you want it? Why is it important to you? Because you need a driver and a motivator behind whatever we do. We need a reason to go to work. For most people is I get paid, and that means I can go on holidays or feed myself, put the lights on, all that kind of thing. But it's often not enough. Like, we also want to enjoy our work, or we want to make an impact on people. So really knowing your why is super important for starting anything, and a really key step in establishing anything that you do that's different or new, and especially if you're starting a business. Obviously, I got a diploma in life coaching. It's endorsed and accredited by the International Coaching Federation first. So that was one of the main steps I had to take. And then I figured out who I wanted to help with. So my niche. And then I worked on my brand. I started going out there with my message to the market. And I got a coach as well. First and foremost, that was very key for me, because my thinking was, well, how can I be an effective coach if I don't have a coach myself, right? It's about being congruent and authentic with the message for me. And so I've always had a coach in this whole journey, and it helps me to become a better person. It's made a very big impact to my life, having coaching. And you just have to be consistent. I work on everything, every single stage, to learn more and more, not just about coaching or different modalities. On building my coaching business, but also, as I mentioned before, marketing, sales, branding, messaging, copywriting, business development. That the learning just never stops, and I enjoy all of it. I love it. I love doing it, and the joy really comes out of seeing the results that my clients get. That's really my passion. Seeing them change in a positive way and achieving what they want to achieve, and finding their own passion, their own confidence in themselves. For them to be happier individuals and contributors to the world. And that's really my mission. And, you need that. We want to feel purposeful. A lot of the time we don't feel happy, or we feel dissatisfied because we don't feel like we have a purpose. A lot of people say, I just need a purpose. Now, purpose is really about making a positive impact on people and the situation around you. And when we think about purpose, it's not just like a tangible thing. It's a feeling. It's something that we do. So that's kind of really the driver for me.
Definitely. And you have mentioned just earlier regarding Simon Sinek, and start with why. And finding purpose is very important for business, for person. It's a very powerful, like advice for students.
Yeah, absolutely.
For you, like, what areas of personal growth do you recommend university students focus on to build successful careers?
Yeah, so one of the things I think is super important that is not talked about enough, especially in education, is to work on your mindsets. So, as Carol Dweck says in her book, Mindset, The view you adopt of yourself profoundly affects the way you lead your life. It can determine whether you become the person you want to be and whether you accomplish the things that you value. So your mindset is, the narrative that we believe and continue to believe about our ability without ever questioning it significantly impacts our confidence, right? So if we are buying into old beliefs, our mindset is fixed because we're telling ourselves that we can't do something. When you develop a growth mindset, we have a different viewpoint and perspective in that I can do it, even if it's hard, even if I'm not confident in it right now, I can learn. Just because I don't know it now doesn't mean I won't ever know it. And so it's really about moving from this fixed mindset of, well, I can't do that, to, well, how can I? What I'm going to learn so much. What do I need to do to learn that? So really shifting your mindset from that fix to growth. Because, when we do buy into those negative stories, it just prevents us from taking necessary steps towards our goals. So don't buy into the negative stories that roll around in your head, or your fears or perfectionism, because all of these things are killing your confidence. And, we've got to remember that learning is a continuum. We don't just go, well, I've learned everything now and that's it, right? Because, the world changes at such a speed right now, and technology, innovation, we have to be constantly innovating, learning, understanding new things, because, that's how we grow as people. And it's important for us to do that. Human beings need that. We need to be creative. We need to be open-minded and curious. And wherever you've got a weakness in, if it's something that is going to be important from shifting you from here to there, then work on it. Find a way to work on it, or delegate it if it's something you really can't do. Yeah.
And we always we are always looking for updated version of like software or in our phone, mobile phone. So we should update ourselves as well to
Correct.
like
Yeah.
keep ourselves adapted with the changes. And the very powerful thing that from your discussion that you have mentioned several times, thirst for knowledge, or for learning new things, and that's how you have been coping up. So
Yeah.
students, they
Before we
want,
move on, I just want to say, if
yeah,
we think about our brain as the hardware, then our mind is the software.
yeah.
So we all,
When you
iPhone's always
update,
updating their software. We need to be updating our software all the time.
or malware or viruses will be there to like slow us down.
Yeah.
Nice example. So, like students who are,
Mm,
if we focus on university students who are studying at universities,
mm,
they also face imposter syndrome.
mm.
So, if you suggest, or are there any online resources or communities you recommend for students struggling with imposter syndrome?
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of resources online. A lot of people talk about it. As I say, there can be some misinformation about imposter syndrome. That one of those being that it's your superpower. It's definitely not your superpower. It's not something we want to be embracing. We don't want to be embracing this mindset of, well, in order for me to get ahead, then I need to just buy into the idea that I'm a little bit fake and inept, right? We don't want to buy into that. So, Dr. Valerie Young at the Imposter Syndrome Institute, if you go to her website, impostersyndrome.com, there's quite a lot of resources there. She's also, you can download a free chapter of her book, The Secret Thoughts of Successful Women and Men, on the 5 imposter competence types. And this is the source of your imposter syndrome, which is which of the competence types really kind of fits your, it's not an archetype, it's about competence. So what do we believe about competence? Because we have people with imposter syndrome have a distorted view of competence. So, for example, the perfectionist believing this is a badge of honor, when in fact it's not. It's something that really holds you back. So there's the 5 different types, which is perfectionist, expert, natural genius, soloist, and superhuman. So it's really interesting to go and read that chapter, because it will give you a lot of insight into potentially how you're behaving and what your thoughts and actions are. It certainly helped me. So, so that's one thing you can do. And of course, You can follow me on LinkedIn or Instagram, Rachel Lounds for both, and check out my website, rachellounds.com.au, and go to the resources section where you can find a bunch of free resources, and you can also subscribe to my newsletter for a weekly boost of confidence. Also,
Great.
I do have a podcast called Leading Ladies Who Lunch. And so if anybody is interested in listening to myself and my co-host talk, then go and listen to us and follow us on Leading Ladies Who Lunch on Spotify or Apple.
Perfect. So, we are going to share those links on this webinar, so our audience they can get access from there as well.
Great.
So it shared a lot of things which are very informative and helpful and one of its kind. Um, what is the we have been focusing on students who are
Mm-hmm.
currently studying, student graduates who have just started their career. They
Mm-hmm.
also face some struggle, like challenges, or uh, feel some, they are in a deep sea of water, and they can swim. So, what is the one piece of advice you would give to university students who are just starting their careers and maybe feeling overwhelmed or unsure of themselves?
Well, I mean, when we start anything new, we have to know that, we don't just go into something, we know everything. Learning is a continuous, we have a continuing learning curve in anything that we do. So expecting to know everything when you first start out is probably an unrealistic mindset, and, something that we probably need to let go of. So know that when you're starting out in your career, you're new and you're learning stuff, and you don't have to know everything. Right? You don't have to have all the answers. No one expects you to have all the answers. So be a sponge, be open to the idea of asking questions. It's okay to ask questions. Curious people ask questions and they learn from that. And just be open to the idea that you don't have to know it all, and you're not a fraud. You deserve to be there. So, ask lots of questions, focus on learning, strive for excellence over perfection, and keep taking action, right? Confidence comes from taking action. So even if you don't know how to do it, it doesn't mean you never will. You just don't know how to do it yet.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is very powerful, and we have to act. Like if sitting idle, we cannot develop new
Mm,
skill, or
mm,
we cannot build knowledge. So this is
yeah,
very important. Thank you, Miss Rachel, for all very concrete and very informative session. We have learned something new from you, so many new things from you, and this is like a perfect example that it doesn't matter that you are not entrepreneur right now, you're in professional sector, but it is possible to start your venture at any age or any time, if you are confident and if you have some certain skill sets
yeah.
among you. So
Mhm.
thank you so much for your time, and out of your busy schedule, sitting far away from Bangladesh, helping the students of Bangladesh, guiding them through your professional lessons, insights, and learnings. That is going to definitely help them and equip them with information and a guideline
Yeah.
to for their future career. Thank you
Oh,
so
yeah.
much for your time. Like on
My
behalf of
pleasure.
School of Entrepreneurship Development, I would like to share our sincere gratitude, and we wish you very best of luck, and we'll keep in touch.
Thank you so much. Absolute pleasure. And thank you so much for having me. And if anybody wants to follow my journey, then please follow me on social media, or get some free resources from my website. There's plenty there for you.
Great. Thank you so much for your time, and have a good day.
Thank you.